HDB loans versus bank loans. Now, so HDB loans versus bank loans, over here we are looking at the loan to valuation ratio. What it means here is that I could borrow up to 90% for my HDB, right, if I were to take a HDB loan. Okay, so if it's a concessionary rate, I could take up to 90%, and if it's a private bank loan, I could only borrow up to 75% of its valuation. So loan to valuation 75%. Now, it means on the HDB end, I just need to pay 10% down payment, but if it's a private bank loan, I need to pay a 25% down payment, which comprise of 20% CPF and 5% cash. That's the minimum composure that you need to set aside. Now, as for the down payment, there is a change in regulation last year. As of May 2019, the change for HDB home loans regulation is that it allows HDB owners to retain up to 20,000 in a CPF ordinary account. Now, in the past, this was not possible. So when you get your HDB, the moment you have your first appointment, your CPF will be locked in and wiped out to pay for the down payment of the house. But today, you could do that as an option. Now, this option is very useful because in the situation, if you are unable to work, lost a job, right, do not have more CPF contribution, this 20,000 or up to 20,000 could be very useful to pay or service off your housing loan, right? Now, if you need to have more emergency funds like that, you need to talk to a licensed financial advisor, and with them, they will help you to set aside more than the 20,000 if you like more security. All right? Now, also with the change last year, there's this new rule. Is called, we call it the 95-year rule. Now, what it means here is that property lease must cover, right, up to the youngest buyers aged 95. Okay, now if it does not, then you could not apply the 10% down payment or the 90% loan to valuation. Okay, now I'm going to give you an example how it works here is that if today Alex is 45 and Belle is 40, so we talk about a middle-aged couple buying a resale flat. Now, for the reason of shifting to, nearer the parents or school, or, sometimes shifting away, right? So over here, they're looking at a resale flat. Now, the resale flat is 60 years in balance of lease. May you say your HDB has it's already 39 years old and it has a balance of 60 more years, all right? So over here, Alex and Belle, the youngest one is 40 years old, so that's Belle at 40, and housing lease plus 60 years equals to be more than 95. So under such condition, right, they could actually take up the LTV up to 90% on the HDB that they wish to purchase. Now, let's look at another couple. So this is Christopher at 30 years old and Daisy is 31. But in this case, Christopher is the younger one, so at 30 years old. Now, buying the same HDB that has a 60 years lease, what will happen here is that Christopher at 30 years old plus the remaining lease of the HDB at 60 years old and equals to be 90. So in this case, it falls below the 95-year benchmark. So how much down payment must they pay? So this rule will apply because, the youngest one do not cover up to 95 years old, right? So how will it work out? There will be a loan to valuation based on a prorated formula. And this is the formula, right? LTV 90 years, remaining lease minus 20, divide by 95 years minus the age of the youngest buyer, and then minus 20, and that would be your formula. So this would show you that they can actually loan to valuation borrow up to 80%. So in this calculation, Christopher and Daisy would have paid 20% down payment instead of 10%. Okay, so this is how it works. If you'd like to find out more, you could use our calculators to work this out, or go to HDB's website to work this out. Here's a summary. So this is summary of the conditions. You could actually download this as template or take a screenshot right now, and you can use it immediately with your clients looking at buying property, whether they qualify above 95 or below 95 in terms of the total available lease balance. Right, so these are changes that have changed last year. This one is another template, so you can go to our website, or you can email this down as a template and use all this as the comparison, whether HDB is better or bank loans are better, or you can use a combination of both. So this is another page that you can take a screenshot and then use that as a reference, as a template quite immediately. Now, after buying your house, you have many other expenses coming your way. Like example, most of you, after you buy your house, you will be trying to renovate your castle, right? You want to make it the most beautiful place on earth. So that's going to cost you. Now, there are other rules of thumb. Being an advisor, I've been teaching people a good rule of thumb. How much should a person spend on renovating that house, right? So a good rule of thumb is about 7% for bare minimum renovation. When I say bare minimum renovation, means they're all bare basic essential. It's going to be so simple, very zen-like, very minimalistic, and very little renovation done. It will cost you about 7%. Now, but most people in Singapore spend up to 10 to 15% or even 20% of their property price on renovation alone, right? So this is where the yardstick is. If you're thinking about buying a new house, no experience with it, this is where the rule of thumb comes in to give you a better understanding of oncoming expenses, okay? So over here, if you pay lesser for down payment, you have more cash in the bank. There's a lot more you could do to achieve your dream house with that cash flow, right? So this is a very important understanding that you can take advantage, HDB loans, and then refinance it to a private loan.